Hey everybody, I just wanted to make a quick video about some Star Trek episodes, continuing my rewatch. Come on. So a couple things. As you know, if you've been keeping up, I've started an adventure where I rewatch all of Star Trek The Next Generation and kind of give my thoughts. My last episode was about the pilot, Encounter at Farpoint. Here, what did you think of Star Trek, baby? Anyway, so I decided to redo how I'm going to do this project and take several episodes at a time, because I feel like it'll take forever if I don't do it this way. So today I'm going to talk about 5 episodes. 5.5 maybe, because I didn't actually finish the last one yet. Okay, so after Encounter at Farpoint, we get into The Naked Now. A few things about The Naked Now. It's based on an original series episode called The Naked Time. I would say a lot of people argue that they're just ripping off the original series, like it's the second episode and they already can't come up with an original idea. But, that aside, it's a great episode. It gives us a chance to see the characters in comedic situations already. In the pilot, they were taking themselves way too seriously. The Naked Now actually is a good episode. One thing that I wanted to point out, that Gene Roddenberry made a movie of the week called The Quester Tapes in the 70s. In the original version of that script, the android, who's the main character, has sex with a person, a woman. And the censors were like, no, you can't have a machine making love to a woman. That's insane. Well, fast forward a few years and Data and Tasha Yar get it on. The lesson learned is if you tell Gene Roddenberry no, he will eventually find a way to make that no a yes. That sounded creepy. So, anyway, the other thing about The Naked Now is it's the first time that Wesley Crusher saves the ship. He also is a big part of putting the ship in danger, but at the end, it seems so obvious to him that the solution is it's so clear because he's this wonder kid who will continue to save the day throughout the rest of his time on the show. Next episode, Code of Honor. The Code of Honor is like the Enterprise goes to Africa. They go to this planet that's like the country that James Earl Jones is from in Coming to America, that Eddie Murphy movie. It's almost like they couldn't get James Earl Jones, so they got this other guy to play the king. Lola's like standing on the desk right now. She's very happy here. Hi, baby. What? It's a Tasha Yar episode, which we don't get many of those before she has to fight this chick. I remember this episode when I was a kid. I remember seeing this live. I definitely watched the first season like as it was airing. I definitely have. I didn't really think about that before, but as I rewatched these, some strong memories of my childhood come up, and I remember this episode very specifically. And I remember being very frightened of the. There's like this glove thing with spikes that's the weapons that they use, and they have poison on them. Absolutely terrifying. Probably gave me nightmares. The other thing about Code of Honor is it establishes the Geordi-Data friendship, which will last throughout the rest of the series. Our next episode is The Last Outpost. This is otherwise known as the first Ferengi episode. They created the Ferengi to be like the main bad guys of Star Trek The Next Generation, and then completely messed that up. They're not intimidating, they're these creepy little guys. And especially in this episode, absolutely ridiculous. And I'm really glad that they moved away from making the Ferengis the bad guys. In a couple more episodes, they bring them up like, is this the Ferengi? Like, whatever. They're not intimidating. Luckily, we develop much more interesting races later, like the Borg. The Ferengi do develop into an interesting ally. A flawed ally, but an ally nonetheless. But yeah, they're really not a good bad guy. There's not much else to say about this episode. In high school, I took French as my foreign language, just because. And I remember when we learned about the French flag, flashed in my head to Jean-Luc Picard talking about red, blue, and white being the French colors rather than red, white, and blue. And the Chinese finger trap that Data gets stuck in. I specifically remember that from this episode when I was a kid. It's interesting how Star Trek was such a big part of my cultural education, More on that soon. The next episode is Where No Man Has Gone Before. It's another, you should have listened to Wesley. Wesley's the smart kid. Wesley's amazing. Basically, the first part of this episode is the pilot of Voyager. So the ship is, through the power of some powerful being called the Traveler, i.e. the caretaker later, is thrown halfway across the galaxy, or to the other side of the galaxy. That's the first thing that happens. And I remember when I watched the Voyager pilot, I was like, this is just like where No Man Has Gone Before. This is exactly the same. Are they going to get home? No, I knew they weren't going to get home because that's the premise of that whole show, is that they're stuck on the other side of the galaxy. The thing about that Voyager pilot is it made good on this episode. Like, this episode's like, oh, it's really scary. We're on the other side of the galaxy. It would take us 100 years to get home. And it's fixed. You know it's going to be fixed by the end of the episode. You know that the rest of the series isn't going to be about them getting home. And then in Voyager, that's what they did. It didn't get fixed at the end of the episode, and they did a whole show on the ship trying to get home, which I kind of loved that. You know, there are these big problems that happen sometimes in Star Trek, and you know it's an hour-long show. You know that there's a big reset button at the end of the episode, and everything will be back to normal by the next one. So if there were no Where No Man Has Gone Before, I feel like there would have been no Voyager. And there would have been no Janeway, and I love Janeway. This episode is also kind of a ripoff of another episode called Shore Leave from the original series. The idea is that our thoughts become reality, and the captain figures this out and makes this big announcement over the PA system. And watch your thoughts, our thoughts become reality here, and basically the same thing happens in Shore Leave. Like, he opens up his communicator and it's like, everyone, you know, stand at attention, our thoughts become reality here, and it's very dangerous. It's exactly the same. The next one on our list is Lonely Among Us. Lonely Among Us, I remember specifically from my childhood for one reason: Sherlock Holmes. It's basically an episode where these snake people and these like monkey people come on board and they hate each other. Like, who cares? There's a mystery to be solved, and Picard makes this reference to Sherlock Holmes, and then Data goes off and reads all of Sherlock Holmes like that because he's Data. And then later, he becomes a little obsessed with it, and it becomes a hobby of his to play out some Sherlock Holmes things on the holodeck, and it's pretty awesome. But this episode inspired me to go to my library at my elementary school and check out some Sir Arthur Conan Doyle and read Sherlock Holmes. And I absolutely love Sherlock Holmes now. I love the Benedict Cumberbatch. Did I just say that? The Benedict Cumberbatch BBC Sherlock series is really amazing. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Yeah, this episode made me love Sherlock Holmes, and that's the most important thing about it. So there you go. The next episode on our list, and the final episode we're going to talk about today, is Heart of Glory, which is basically the first Klingon episode. They meet these two Klingons who, as it turns out, have a dastardly, vicious plot to take over the ship, and it's actually not a very good episode. I don't really have much else to say about it. So that puts us, 6 episodes into season 1 now, as we continue our journey. So please tune back in after I watch a few more episodes. I will have a few more thoughts about them, and I'll talk to you all soon. Thanks. Peace out. Say bye. Bye. Bye.